Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Tuesday edition of the show. We got a whole lot to get to today. Some updates from around the Longhorns football team, some updates around the SEC, and certainly some recruiting updates, Cody. We'll start out with the running backs. We have KJ Edwards on the cover.
KJ Edwards on the cover because there was a couple of visits this weekend from, well, one being two main players, two main things that I had the behind the enemy lines today is Mark Bowman, the tight end we talked about last week, to Georgia. Not to Georgia, but he went to Georgia this weekend, and Xavier Crowell went to Alabama this weekend, both for visits. And if we just take a step back and remember about a month and a half ago, pre-Tashard choice, Xavier Crowell was getting fresh into the Texas ethos and being recruited. And that was back when Javian Osborne and KJ Edwards were known as the front two pieces to that conversation. As soon as Tashard Choice leaves, Crowell says, I'm out. He cancels his OV. He had just scheduled it. Now you fast forward a month. Osborne's the one out because he's now focused on Notre Dame and Michigan with the new coach in. The new coach and Crowell hit it off from the jump. But again, you're talking about a new relationship that is a month fresh. And with Crowell, this running back who's from Alabama, from Jackson, he's over there in the before going to Texas on a couple of visits, the lean was heavy for Xavier Crowell to be Auburn or Alabama. Georgia sniffed around in there. Texas has sniffed around recently, but it's always been Alabama, Auburn, kind of as like the feature conversation around Xavier Crowell's recruitment at the running back position. Now he goes back to Alabama this weekend and had some pretty choice things to say about Alabama, I'd say. This is a couple of quotes from Xavier Crowell from his weekend at Alabama where he visited for the A-Day. They had their like spring day practice, whatever you want to call it.
What did they do? Did they have a game?
They just had practice. They had open practice, really. And the stadium, there was like pictures on Twitter. You can go find them where it's like last year's spring game versus this year's spring practice. The stadium's, the bottom bowl in Tuscaloosa a year ago was full. This year was like a third full, maybe. So here's a quote from Xavier Crowell. Every time I'm back, it just feels right. You can't fake culture. It's built into everything they do, Crowell stated. Seeing other schools has been good for perspective, but Alabama always holds up. They're a top contender for a reason, and this spring just reminded me of that again. That was from Crowell this weekend, again, after he had been to Texas a couple weeks ago, went to Auburn last weekend. Again, choice words for a guy that's from the area and was a pretty big lean to Alabama and Auburn before ever even getting into the Texas conversation. I know Sark always talks about creating relationships, long-term relationships. It's something that if you heard a bunch of these kids talk that were in Texas this weekend, it's continuing to build a relationship. It's my third time here. It's my sixth time here. I'm building a relationship. I feel this way, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Crowell's, he is about as early in a relationship as you can get. Being that it's only been about a month since he met Coach Scott and really got into this conversation. And what we know from the outside is that KJ Edwards, the running back from Carthage, who's the number 2 running back in the country right now, is the guy at the top of the board for Scott. That's what we've kind of been led to believe from words from KJ Edwards and other people, is that Edwards is the top guy. And it feels like right now, Alex, with Osborne sort of moved on and Crowell seemingly still in that Alabama-Auburn lean, that it's almost time to push the chips in on KJ Edwards and just go, we got to get this kid, because A&M and Oklahoma are fighting over Jonathan Hatton right now. He committed to, I'm going to get it wrong off the top of my dome. He committed to one of them. I think he committed to A&M 2 weeks ago. He's another running back from the state of Texas. I think he's from Cibolo.
Cibolo, yeah.
So he committed to, I think, Oklahoma or A&M, and they're still fighting over him, basically. So that's the guy that both of those schools like. And Edwards is, I believe it was the A&M site. A&M was like, their backup plan was KJ Edwards. So right now I'd say, I don't know who the next option would be. I know we heard Jonathan Cooper's name brought in a couple of weeks ago. Is it Jonathan Cooper? What the hell is his first name?
I think that's right. Jonathan, well, it's
No.
Jonathan Hatton. You might Jonathan Hatton's a
No, 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 no. I'm thinking about the other running back. The only other running back, Cooper. Derek Cooper, all-purpose back from Chaminade Madonna, down in Florida. That was like the
now
only other running back
from
name.
where? Which
Chaminade Madonna, down where Jeremiah Smith went.
Shamanad Madonna?
Chaminade Madonna.
Shamanad Madonna?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Chaminade, Chaminade, Madonna. Chaminade Madonna, Hollywood, Florida.
Okay.
Very speaking really quick. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's an all-purpose back. He's the 12th ranked player in the country right now, but he's the only other name we heard enter the conversation, even for like a split second, like 2 months ago. He's already got 6 officials planned, and none of them are Texas. So that's kind of out the window now. As far as like, I'm talking about high-end running backs. So it's Osborne. You're talking about Edwards, Crowell, and Cooper. Like I said, at one point, kind of like entered the fray, and then it was like it was like a wisp, right? So Osborne's gone. Crowell seems like, again, I'm not gonna like come out here and be like, it's over with, but
It's over with Osborne.
well, it's over with Osborne, yes. But with
Right.
Crowell, it's like you still got 7 months. You still got the rest of the year to build a relationship,
Yeah.
but I think it's gonna be a little bit tougher if he kind of narrows it down and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go to that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he makes his mind up. So that was kind of the main thing there with Crowell. And it feels like, and that was the kind of the question I wanted to pose to you was, would you just say, you know what, enough playing around. We need to like, maybe they already have this thought. It's already like, hey, we're full court pressing on KJ Edwards, but we know they're not going to like really do that until pushing comes to shoves and you really need to.
Well, a couple things. One thing that we've seen out of this staff is that they don't really pressure guys to, commit early. I've always talked about how I've always not really appreciated it, but sort of understood it and feel like it's kind of more efficient. You know, my dad worked in recruiting, not in football recruiting, but he was a corporate recruiter. I've said this before, but like the thing that he hated worst was the hand padding and the deal tending and the stuff like that after he made a match with a client and a candidate and they weren't going to start for like 6 weeks or something like that, after they, accepted the offer, but they were still drawing out paperwork and stuff. He's like, the deal tending, man, is just the toughest part because you got to, it's you got to make sure that nothing happens. And the longer the time is between then, it's more time to hand pad. It's more time to deal tend. It's more time you're going to have to spend on. Now, I will say though that with KJ Edwards, I mean, at least for me, I would think that Sark and the offensive staff probably appreciated, and I can't believe that they have to appreciate this kind of behavior about how people would act on social media and stuff like that, but it's the world that we live in. Like with Tashard Choice leaving, they knew he was eventually going to leave. He was a great running backs coach, one of the guys that other people had tried to hire before they were able to get him up there to Detroit and land in such a good situation, right? They knew he was probably going to leave, but it still was a little bit like a nuke got dropped on the 2026 recruiting, especially with Osborne and all the rest. And it probably felt good for them at the time for whenever Javian Osborne's kind of getting online and and maybe rightfully so for him, saying that he didn't feel, hey, look, if I'm your number one priority, why has nobody reached out to me? Why have I not heard from Coach Scott? Why have I not done any of this stuff? Whereas, KJ Edwards is like, heck yeah, can't wait to meet him. You know what I mean? And then, I forgot it was the next day or might have been like hours later or something like that. He gets on there and he's like, oh, glory to God, just got done talking to, I just got done talking to Coach Scott at Texas, like great conversation, all this stuff like this, right? He's like, for him, it was no problem. Whereas for Osborne, it was like the end of the world. And I think that
Crowell is the end of the world. Crowell's the one that jumped ship right away.
Yeah, well, but
Osborne waited a week before he said anything.
Right, but didn't Crowell say something along the lines of after that was after they talked to Edwards, but after they called and reached out to Crowell, he's like, I just had a great conversation with Coach Scott.
Yeah, but that was a couple days later though, because Crowell was the one that within minutes was like canceled my OV.
Right. Um. So I would I think dude I think KJ Edwards digs Texas.
Yeah.
Right. I think Texas is into him. I would think if that was something that you would want to go ahead and get locked up, I think it's fine. I do think that with Sark, that when you talk about developing these relationships, um, I don't necessarily think it needs to be something where it's relationships developed over the course of, since they were sophomores or eighth graders. I know that sometimes things just happen like that, but it doesn't always need to be. I mean, I think it could be thought of as just developing a relationship through the cycle of a recruitment. Um, and if it's not, then just look at like turn time. If that's the case, if that's the case and it's such a big deal, shouldn't John Turntime be somebody that we should be like, he's the one saying like, he's been to Texas, what, 8 times?
Yeah.
Is like, I mean, talk about the development of a relationship. I can't think of, so I'm hard pressed to think of any recruits in this class that have been here as often as that guy has. So,
maybe Diabell. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, well, he's already on board, right? Which is definitely
Diabell feels like I feel like he's at Texas like every other weekend for some reason. I don't know. That's what it feels like.
yeah. And Glenn Keller makes a good point about this. That I'd forgotten about that. That after Crowell talked to Scott, he got Texas back on the schedule.
Of course, yeah. That's still on it's still on the calendar, but just you're reading between the lines, man, of what was once the belief and then how he phrased, like, I went and I looked at these other schools, but then I came back and it's just,
Yeah.
it's different.
But dude, but here's the thing: KJ Edwards is their top guy. He can commit whenever he wants to.
Probably.
I don't. I mean, unless do you think Sark has a master plan where he's like, hey, dude, we want you to wait till December.
He could.
He could.
In the that's interesting. I had an interesting thought. I don't know if I want to say it out loud.
If you're worried about it, you should probably keep it to yourself. The Sooner Cowboys is in the chat. He's saying that now he hopes OU kicks the tires on Osborne. Man, he'd be a great player.
You don't wish that.
But I don't think he's.
He might wish that because he's a Sooner fan, but
yeah, he's locked in on.
We don't want that.
He's locked in between Michigan and Notre Dame, thankfully, so Texas won't have to face that guy every year.
Osborne would put 200 on Texas.
He's a good player, man. He's a good player. Now I don't know if he'll put 200 on Texas. Texas is gonna have a good defense. It's gonna take a while before he's able to do that, but he's the kind of guy who's capable of being a real problem for opposing defenses as he gets a little bit older, or probably just a 3-year college player.
Hey, here's a thought. So if you look at Texas football future schedules, so currently Javion Osborne is down to what?
Notre Dame and Michigan.
Got it.
And he's going to make his choice in like the next 2 weeks.
So 2026 Texas plays Ohio State. 2027 home game Michigan. 2028 at Notre Dame. So no matter what, in 27 or 28, Javion Osborne is likely to play Texas.
Yeah, unless he
doesn't one of those schools.
Yeah. We got Rock Drums saying, "What's up, boys? Just hopped on. Bill talked about the Stanford transfer. Yeah, we talked about it for probably the half of yesterday's show. Cody got a one sentence thing for Rock Drums to let him know what we think about
one word.
Mosley the fifth.
Satisfactory.
One sentence. You
go sentence. Well, you were like one word. I'm like, all right, let me think of one word. So I would say one word would be satisfactory. One sentence would be dependable, going to get the job done for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I'd say really I'd say really good slot wide receiver that has excellent change of direction, can get open, can move the chains for you. Got better and better and better as a early breakout 18-year-old freshman in an offense with a terrible quarterback and a alpha wide receiver and Nico Iamaleava on the outside.
That, my
So
friends, is a run-on sentence.
I don't think it was a run on. Probably it's one of those sentences that looks like a paragraph too.
Yes.
Um, so hold on. So Sooner Cowboys in the chat saying that Jade not commit to OU whenever I was in the whenever I was in the gym.
No, I mean, he hasn't. Nothing's official with that yet. That's just been the leak for like the last day. Is that's he entered to go there? Like it was basically not a non-contact sticker, but that was the intention. I sent you the tweet from Jim Nagy from a year ago, didn't I? I mean, this is exactly what we
He's
talked about.
going to OU.
This is exactly what we talked about with Jim Nagy, and what he was going to be able to do is he has a board with guys like Jade Knott on the board because he was getting these guys. Jade Knott qualified for the Senior Bowl, and if he would have declared, maybe would have been a Senior Bowl guy. And here's you go. Here's a guy that was on his board because they went through and his staff looked at everybody when they were back in Mobile, and he ain't gonna forget any of these guys or the contacts or anything. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'll be honestly, Alex, maybe more interested over the next 72 hours what Oklahoma does in the portal than I care for what Texas does. Like, yeah, we know Texas could use a tight end, could dabble in the guard game,
Defensive tackle.
get a defensive tackle. It's like they could do some. Is it really that big of a deal if they get like they're going to add somebody, right? But is it like, am I really holding my breath over who it's going to be? No, I want to like really see how Jim Nagy utilizes that Senior Bowl board from this last year and what kind of strings he pulls. Because, so one of the notes I had in the Behind Enemy Lines, I'll just bring it up because it's relevant, is mind blanking. Emmett Mosley, the receiver from Stanford, who we were just talking about a second ago. He was brought up on the board over there on OU Insider, and I wrote in my column, I said, stop me if you've heard this before. So, top sentence, Oklahoma pressing for a non-Power 5 receiver. This one comes by way of Iowa Western Community College, formerly an Oklahoma commit in 2023, but failed to qualify for admissions. They go that direction. Instead of, here's a quote, Jim Nagy and the Sooners will thoroughly evaluate their options and have already kicked the tires with multiple players, including Emmett Mosley of Stanford, although I'm told he is a bit expensive for OU's taste. So, how much money do they have to spend? We didn't hear that it was a big dollar footing that was needed for Emmett Mosley. Again, it was Virginia and Texas were the two schools he visited. I don't know what kind of dollar figure Oklahoma's dealing with here, but I'm very interested to see what they do in the portal as far as these guys that are seniors or graduate seniors or rising seniors and who enters the portal, who goes to Oklahoma. I think that's maybe the one I'm most interested for. 24 hours from now could be a hell of a conversation because the portal opens up at midnight tonight.
2024 Jade Knott is like a Big Lots type of budget. It's $1. My kids would call him a Dollar Tree type of, like, it's
he's looked at as one of the best running backs in the nation right now. I heard you guys talking about him on the show today, and I'm like, I understand the stats don't run, but it's just 2 years. This guy had 1,300 yards. Like,
yeah. I mean, I'm convinced I'm convinced he was probably hurt last year. Because he didn't look good.
Yeah.
Like, did you go watch any, like there's film?
I don't need to go watch it because I remember him from 2 years ago, like tearing dudes up. Last year he was banged up.
Yeah.
Maybe he's slower.
Like I only watched 2024, so yeah. I probably need to watch more back. But if you're looking at the 2024 version of that guy, it wasn't good.
Here's the thing, Esron too. Esron's like, he ain't bringing no super blue chip. Here's the thing, there ain't no such thing as a super blue chip in the portal, like
in the spring portal.
Like,
or there's no such thing. It's like, man, but it's a unicorn, man.
It's not a, but here, I guess I'm phrasing that wrong. it's not about getting a super blue chip. It's about getting guys that are draftable bodies. Like where we don't got to go all the way into this thing, but the way that roster's built right now is it's lacking true uh d- compatible depth with size. Like they just lack size and depth across the board and talent. Like those three things combined, and I think that's where he can fulfill it if he can manage his portal right. So it's not really about the super blue chips as much as it is just getting guys in that can play football at a high level and that are draftable size bodies.
Speaking of like, so I read that in your behind enemy lines, so I put this in as a topic. So Emmett Mosley was reportedly a bit too expensive for Nagy's taste at Oklahoma. Was that from Parker Thune?
Yep.
So and Parker Thune's like he writes for the Oklahoma side, I guess.
Yep.
Do you think he got more than the 200K that Matthew Golden got?
200K.
I see so many parallels between his kind of transfer recruitment and Golden's that I think they probably just gave him the same thing.
Yeah.
Can you believe that they gave Isaiah Bond 900K?
It's going to be more than he makes in his rookie contract in the first year.
We'll see, man. He could end up slipping a little bit if some of this off-field stuff doesn't get. He will end up slipping if the off-field stuff doesn't get resolved.
Will he regret? I mean, think about it. If he falls and he's a 5th-round pick, talent will prevail. He'll, as long as he's got his head somewhat screwed on, at least a little bit, he doesn't get in too much off-field trouble with this situation, he'll make a roster even if he's a 5th, 6th-round pick. But man, I mean, think about, not that, situations are situational, but hypothetically, you could go back to school and maybe collect another 900 or 700 or 600.
I'm not sure that they give him 900 again.
I don't know what those deals look like. Like, like everyone restructures and stuff, but I don't know what the conversation was. Maybe they had a conversation before he ever got to Texas of like, hey, here's 900. If you decide to come back next year, we'll restructure, or here's 900. And if you come back next year, you get 900 again. Like, I don't know if there's a promise made. I'm assuming not, but because I'm sure his goal was just come do 1 year, go first round, but
it would be crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to make any promise. We've seen with the whole Nico thing, making those promises is like in this. I hope they get something figured out, because in this day and age, it's like you can't take anybody at their word, on the coach side or on the player side. You can't take Texas beef traders at their word that you're getting ranch direct beef, and it's got no vaccines, no antibiotics, no steroids, no, just completely ground beef right there in the heart of Lakeway. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. You get 10% off anytime you mention that you heard about them here on Football with Friends. I've said all you can say about it. Everything from the ground beef to the top end, like those tomahawk steaks that you see there. It's like everything is legit. It's amazing. Easter's coming up. Go there. Get a rib roast for Easter. Go see Darren. A kind of a big ticket item like that was something where it's like your 10% off is going to end up saving you for $15, something like that. It's going to be cheaper than the grocery store. It's going to be higher quality. Your guests are going to absolutely love it. So if you have Easter, I think Passover is going on right now. I think they eat big meals at do the Jewish people eat the big meals at Passover?
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I kind of think it's a big week for them too. So check out Texas Beef Traders. I'm sure it's kosher. I'm not sure. Actually, I'm not sure. You should ask Darren. Texas Beef Traders, TexasBeefTraders.com. All right, and we have the beef jerky there also. They're our great friends. Hey, so speaking of Nico and all this stuff around him, do you so this was crazy what I saw. So the guy Pete Nakos, I don't know. He's a young kid, man. I saw that Shannon Terry, he wrote today, he's like, we just got done giving this young man a raise, one of the rising stars and stuff. I looked at him like, wait, that's Pete Nakos? I thought this was some kind of like cold college football reporter. He's just a young kid.
He is a college football reporter. I think let's see here. I don't know when he graduated. He graduated. And it doesn't have he doesn't have his graduation on his LinkedIn.
Well, he breaks some pretty big. He's been breaking some pretty big stories, and so I kind of thought he'd been on the scene a little longer. But
I mean, he's
looks
been
super
an
young.
On3 for 3 years. Before that, he was a reporter, sports reporter, New Hampshire, 2020, 2019. Staff writer, OhioBobcats.com, 2016 and 2018. I wonder if he was going to school there.
Yeah, all right. So he
TV.
guy that graduated college in 2018. He's probably
Yeah.
like 27. Yeah, probably.
Well,
probably
I
27.
graduated in 2020 and I'm 28, so he's probably 28 to 30.
Maybe he just
Still
looks
hellaciously young.
Maybe he just looks kind of. He just looks really young.
He's got
real baby face to him. Anyway, and congrats to him on getting a raise. But he's got a new scoop today. I guess he's been all over the Nico stuff. He's saying the schools are now holding out to see if they can get into the Nico sweepstakes for around $1 million. Like, what is Nico supposed to do now? Does he have any other avenues?
Well,
we talked about it on the
olden days. I think you could go JUCO.
God,
you'd be a bounce back. You try to be a bounce back, but Nico didn't get any trouble. That's the thing. That's the whole stupid thing here. Is Nico didn't get no trouble, right? Generally, I think in a situation like this where he kind of caused some, he hypothetically, again, I don't know who did what other than what we read, which is that it was his dad and the agent that overstepped both the dad and the player. And it was completely out of Nico's hands is what was kind of written by Ryan Roberts, reported by Ryan Roberts. And if you go on that route where you say Nico definitely had his hands off of it, his dad was trying to do some moving and some shaking to try to get some more money, and then they stopped after the winter, and then the agent overstepped and kept trying to get more money, then I completely think Nico should be, I know you brought up the question earlier, like, is he going to be the villain? Is he going to be the heel like this year? He definitely feels like he has that, and I would love nothing more than the dad, the agent, somebody, Heupel, somebody or something to come out and say, here's how it really went down. And I do feel for the kid because I don't really think the kid did anything wrong. Where he should go, I mean, he should go to like Texas Tech, or he should go to Florida State or North Carolina or somewhere. I don't know. I
haven't heard any of those teams are in on him.
We talked about that before. Like, I know that's the thing. It's going to take the right coach. It's going to take the right coach that is willing to deal with the helicopter parent, that's willing to deal with the LeVar Ball, that's willing to deal with the, Todd Marinovich's dad, like the overpowering thing. I don't know. He's definitely, you'll be lucky if you get $1 million. You probably, fair market value, he'd probably get fair market value, which is what's supposed to come down once the house settlement thing happens, would tell you based on his play and I would say lack of high-end social media output, he might be worth $1 million. Might. If they give him credit. You know what I'm saying? Like, might.
But see, the house settlement, that's not, by the way, I saw that Sooner Cowboys posted in here. I on Twitter, it looks like it's confirmed that Jaden Ott has signed with Oklahoma. So that's happened. Cal running back, grad transfer, Jaden Ott has signed with Oklahoma. So, and apparently people are pumped about it. We'll see. About the house settlement and about the fair market value stuff, though, is that's for NIL.
Yes, but you still got to get paid. What I'm saying is that has nothing to do with him getting a contract, though, because that stuff's not going to come down for how long. What I'm saying is, if you used fair market value to identify what the kid's worth, you would say he's maybe worth $1 million. The reason he got the $8 million deal out of high school was because he got pumped up.
Because they were prospecting on him.
You were prospecting, he was projecting, and he was getting pumped up to this level of, superstardom projection. Is 6'5", 220-pound quarterback. And that is what it is. But now, if you're like transferring and if you look like a year from now, if there is that fair market value thing that comes into account and that these NIL clearinghouses exist and that they have to check through all these different things and say you're worth this or you're not worth that, What I'm saying is I'm not sure he's worth $1 million. So if you're looking at it from a flat standpoint of him entering the portal and him having no leg to stand on, I don't know if he gets $1 million.
But the NIL clearinghouse, like the only reason
None of
that
it exists.
what?
None of that exists. It's all hypotheticals that could potentially exist, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm saying like right now, I mean, what they have right now is just pay for play.
Again, I know that. I'm saying none of that exists. I'm saying if you use that as a bar to
Yeah.
explain to yourself, if you're a Tulane or a Tulsa or San Jose State or anybody, if somebody's trying to like take away the fact that he has had a deal for 2.4 million at Tennessee or wanted 4 million, I don't care what you want or what you had, what you're worth based on performance last year and your lack of social media output would tell me that if we had a fair market algorithm, right, where these teams are starting to use more and more analytics, if we used analytics and an algorithm to tell us what the fair market value is for Nico, it's not $1 million.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that he's a quarterback.
Yeah, I think in a hypothetical world wherever teams did do that, and they're like whenever it comes to now, once we get revenue sharing, teams will likely do that, right? I mean, I think that they'll likely do that. They would be stupid not to bring in
Teams will
financial
have to do
algorithm
that.
gurus and like to get that stuff figured out. And it shouldn't just be like ex NFL salary cap guys. It needs to be these dudes who, like you said, um, have the total finance bro backgrounds, right? But I do think that with if the House settlement, if it goes through in anything close to what its current form is, the fair market value piece as it pertains to how that's regulated, that's only going to be with the sponsorships. So that's only going to be like saying like Reds, used cars or whatever. You can't pay this dude, 550K to come to your dealership 2 times a year, right? That isn't fair market value. That's not a fair thing to do. But if we're talking about a team trying to assess what fair market value is for a player for the in a pay for play setting, which revenue sharing is going to be, and which NIL through these clearinghouses currently is right now in his current state, yeah, he's not worth $1 million. He threw 19 touchdowns last year, and 11 came in 3 games versus
Kent State, San Jose State, and Vandy. Like
in on a team where it's like, and it's Cody's why I keep talking about Dylan Sampson in this NFL draft stuff.
he was the heartbeat of that football team.
I just keep thinking about how good he was.
Yeah.
I feel like it feels like he's getting a little bit slept on in the draft. I keep thinking, like, why is Sampson's a nightmare to deal with, and they had a really good defense. Why is James Pierce keeping on falling in these drafts?
He's got some off-field stuff.
What is his off-field? Did he allegedly commit a crime or something, or is it
Yeah.
like personality? Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to look into that. Did he address it at the combine?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that would explain that. Anyway, really good defense, really good running game. It's like what did you do, Nico? So
Where do you think he goes?
that's what I'm saying. What's he supposed to do now? Can he do something where he just sits out like Jamar Chase did?
And do what?
Work out?
You know what he can do? And you know what would be low key?
What?
We didn't talk about this because it kind of broke my brain the other day because I had this conversation with like my cousin, I think maybe, about how the UFL is built right now. And I was like, well, they got a draft. They do a draft in like July. And like after the NFL draft's over, the UFL does a draft, they get the rights. And then whoever doesn't make it through NFL camp, then they get onto a roster for next spring. Alan Bowman, who I've talked about when I'm talking about Ollie Gordon on our Roster Watch show, because Bowman was so bad, it made that Oklahoma State stuff unbearable this year. Alan Bowman signed with like Michigan Panthers to go play in the UFL.
Surprised they're not playing him over Bryce.
What?
They play everybody else over that guy.
With Danny Etling?
Danny Etling.
No, but like and I know I tweeted it and I sent it to you and I was like, it was a joke saying like, I bet you could get, Nico could get paid there, but I know they don't get paid peanuts there, but
They get paid $5K a week and they play 10 games.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know what I would do if I was Nico. I think, the could you go to like Sac State or something and play with Brennan Marion?
But then it's like, but money was the number one object. He wanted he was trying to quit on his team allegedly
Money,
before the CFP.
money's the number one object until money's not an
I
option.
mean, a million is nothing to sneeze at. And the report is if he can lower his standards to somewhere near a million, there's a bunch of teams that are willing to jump in the sweepstakes. I guess that's what you do. Is you
You
guys
know what
gotta
I'm most
swallow
excited
your
for?
pride and have to wear this giant L, dude.
You know what I'm most excited for is they got this documentary coming out. It's called Drive to Survive.
I saw you post something about that.
I
When is
put it
that?
in the YouTube chat today.
Right.
So it comes out. I haven't seen a date release for it. Debuts in summer 2025. So I'm assuming they're going to release the date at some point. But they did a season-long thing where they followed around Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Vandy, and Tennessee for the season last year. And part of the notes that were in here was it's going to be 8 45-minute episodes, behind the scenes access to players and coaches, highlighting both triumphs and challenges. Went through the whole season, and there was a report from a local Tennessee TV station that said that during like the Vandy game and the Kent State game, maybe, that the Netflix people were like like talking to like Nico's family. Like, so
Right at the height of his powers, right? Those were 3 of the games where he scored those 11 touchdowns.
So I just will be, when this thing comes out, I'll be very interested to see how they portray them, and also if anything gets like picked up. Because as we know from like, Last Chance U and things like this, like Netflix, they don't give you, I mean, the SEC, I guess, a little bit stronger than the National JUCO, Junior College Association of America, but I'll be just wondering to see, I'll be interested to see how the Netflix kind of, if they get anything good from Tennessee on the drama side.
I can't wait.
I mean, could you imagine if they got like Nico going into like Heupel's office like December 10th, like Nico's being a real bag of,
I hope that comes out in June to start kind of wetting our football beak a little bit during the lull.
That'd be
Right.
nice.
We get to hope they don't make us wait till July. Oh, by the way, are we allowed to say publicly that when the SEC media days and where they're scheduled for? I don't think that's
Yeah, they publicly released it.
okay. So that's scheduled for mid
July.
July. Yeah, I think it's July 15th through the 18th or something. And it's going to be in Atlanta this year. And Cody and I are planning to be there. We'll be broadcasting live from SEC Media Days. We're hoping to have the whole Orange Bloods crew outside. I think Chad has something to do with his kid that week. But I mean, I hope we'll have the rest of the Orange Bloods crew there to do the broadcasts like we did last year. But if not, Cody and I will at least be there for sure. I'm sure Anwar will be there as well. So yeah, that's the first thing we have on the books for the new season. I'd really like to go to the SEC League meetings, but they haven't sent anything out for that. I think that's more towards it's going to be coming up in May. So I'll keep an eye out on that too.
Take a trip down to the beach.
Take a trip down to the beach, wet a hook. Maybe, the one thing about going down there is in Florida, you got the liquor stores or all that ABC liquor stuff, right? Unfortunately, they do not have specs. They're almost 600 of you guys watching right now. And it's, of course, always thanks to the Specs chat line.
Have you heard the news? Specs is turning 63, and we're celebrating you. Whether you're looking for whiskey, canned cocktails, or wine, Specs has it all with Texas-sized savings all month long. Specs. Cheers to save.
All right. Let's see here. We have, let's see, what is, okay. So it's just gotten into our OB teams chat about Jade Knott, Jalen Brown, just saying this is a really good pickup. I guess I just need to go watch his 20. Is his 2023 that's good?
2023, I think he rushed for like 1,300 yards.
All
And he
right.
was looked at after it was kind of one of those fall offs. Like generally we see from quarterbacks, like Rattler, right? Rattler, boom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hot. Boom.
Fair enough, dude.
See if you can regain it this year.
Let's see. You put in some NFL draft over-unders here. Do you want to talk about those?
Yeah, so this was Matt Miller from ESPN. He released his top 600 big board.
Top 600.
Top 600. And he ranked
I used to work with Matt, dude. He's a hard worker, but 600, gosh.
he ranked 14 Texas Longhorns in the top 600. Gavin Holmes, Bill Norton, Mo Blackwell were the only three not ranked in the top 600. And I wanted to ask you this
Silas
question.
Bolden?
Huh?
Silas Bolden?
Yeah, we'll get to him. Start in the first round. I want to ask you, we can go rapid fire. We don't got to talk too deep into him, but unless you want to. So this is where he ranked these guys, and I just want to get like a thought, like quick thought, like over under where they're going to get drafted. So Calvin Banks, he has higher than a lot of people I've seen. Calvin Banks, he has at 8, Jahdae Barron at 11, and Matthew Golden at 16. These are not mock projections; these are just his grades ranked.
But we're gonna look at it and say
We're going to assume this is like he's a GM. This is his
where
board.
he would draft him.
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull up Tankathon just so I can see I know who's picking in these picks. So Kelvin Banks, I think, will go after pick 8. I think his reasonable entry into the draft, his ceiling is at pick 10 to the Bears.
Yep.
So I'll say he goes later. Jahdae Barron, 11. That would put him to San Francisco. It would make. I think that fit would actually make sense. But I think that he goes after that. And then Golden at 16. I honestly think that Golden is live starting at Dallas at 12. And then the next spot that he's live is going to be Arizona at 16. That's the spot that you've continued to sort of point out. With that being said, I tend to think that Golden I've seen him mocked a bunch to Seattle. I'm not sure how much I love it or how much sense it makes. Couldn't you see that being something where it's like a Green Bay or Houston or something like this?
I think he's a 20s guy.
I kind of think so too. So I'm going to say all those 3 go later.
Alfred Collins.
Do you agree with those 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alfred Collins, only guy ranked within the range of the second round, 50th overall, which is what, like the Dolphins?
50th overall is the Seattle Seahawks in the second round. Dolphins are 48. Well, since
feels a little bit early.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how this would fall. I kind of maybe.
I like the whole batch right there. I like the Atlanta.
I like Buffalo. I like Buffalo at 56.
Yeah.
I kind of like Detroit at 60. And where Alfred Collins might go, I think, is these 2 Buffalo picks in the second round, 56 and 62. That is if say a Walter Nolan or a Kenneth Grant doesn't fall to them at 20 or fall to them at 30. I think Collins would make a ton of sense there with one of those 2 late seconds. Because they got why did they get one from Minnesota? Why did they get one from Minnesota?
Who?
Buffalo. Did it have to do with the Dallas Turner trade? I forgot what that was. Why did they have a second from Minnesota? Well, regardless, 56 and 62. I think that. I think he goes after too. You know that Matt Miller is a Texas Longhorns fan, so he might rated a little.
All right. So round 3, Bond at 68, Ewers at 80, and Makuba at 86.
So 68 is right at the beginning. Right at the
Third round.
beginning.
I'm
of
going
the third.
higher.
He's going much higher than that, especially just with all the off-field stuff right now.
I'd say closer to 100, maybe 120.
Dude, I mean, what's his name? Kyle Crabtree at 33rd team had him won 6th round.
Yep.
So
Quinn 80th.
80, that would be, when do the Rams choose? They pick at 90. I think the Rams at 90 would be a good spot. Who else?
That's the end of round 3.
Yeah. Who else picks the beginning around? I mean, what if the Giants don't address it? They don't do one of these things where they kind of take Milrow at 34. Might they look at Quinn? That could be something interesting at the beginning of the third. Cleveland at 67.
Saints are at 71.
Las Vegas at 68. Yeah, Saints at 61. Quinn's going to go earlier than this. Jets at 73.
All right. Makuba at 86. That's the Chargers. We heard a lot of gas about Makuba.
Have we?
I mean, it's been a couple weeks, but I mean, it's been a couple weeks since anything's really happened. So, a lot of positivity about him. Mental makeup. He's a little undersized, but
yeah, kind of a small.
He was going to be a day 2 guy.
Safety for it.
Day 2. I mean, 86 is like that's the last 20 picks of day 2.
Yeah, I think he'll go day 2. I think he kind of goes right around. I mean, if he'll go right around there, but I think he'll go before one of those. How many comp picks are there here in the third? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 extra comp picks that have already been added.
So between 86 and 96.
No, because there's 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102 also with the comps.
No, I know. You just said before the comp. Didn't you?
Oh, I didn't mean that.
Oh.
Dude, I think he goes later. I think he goes at the end of the third.
Okay. So far we're at.
Where do you think he goes?
6 overs, 1 under. I think he goes in round 3. So I'm kind of a push at 86. I think it's a good number for that. Here's the big group. 5 guys in round 4. Majors.
Later.
Helm. 119 for Helm.
Well, dude, Indy picks at 117, and what if they don't get Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren? He'll go. I'm going to say he goes at 117 to Indy. He goes earlier.
Cameron Williams 122. He's got a workout tomorrow in Dallas.
I forgot about that. That was the 16th, right?
Yep.
Been
watching his Instagram. He's been working. Been moving.
He's not going to run though, right?
No.
116.
122.
122.
4th round. This is later than Christian Jones.
Man, I think
he's going round 3.
He's going. Yeah, I was just looking. I was looking here. I think that there are teams like Kansas City, New Orleans, Seattle, the Rams, Houston, right? Jacksonville, all these teams that could be addressing tackle, picking at the end of the third. And Houston actually has 2 picks in the third. Yeah, he'll go. I mean, I think that either those Houston picks in the third could be good spots for him. I think he goes sooner.
All right, two guys we've heard a lot of positivity for. Jaden Blue 129, so that's 4th round. I mean, we've heard from some people that like late second's not out of the question for Blue.
He'll go earlier than the late 4th.
And then Baron Sorrell 135, so that's what, mid 4th.
I mean, Sorrell was practice player of the week at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's a day 2 lock, but
But
I
he's not
think
end of round 4 seems a little out of pocket.
I think if you were putting a gun to my head and you were to say, is he closer to round 3 or round 5? I'd say round 3, obviously.
But I like that.
So I think he goes sooner.
All right. So the only other two guys that were drafted, Vernon Broughton, 146, and then Hayden Connor, 241. I think I'd say Broughton lower, Connor higher.
Well, Connor's going to be higher because basically, if you're saying it's after 241, you're
So-
like, do you think Connor gets picked with one of the last 15 picks in the draft?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like that. That seems unlikely. I think he'll get drafted, but I don't think he'll be. I don't think that he's going to. It's just like I think it would be stupid to say that I know one of the exact 15 spots he's going to go.
Do you think Broughton's going to be within 10 picks of Sorrell's number?
No,
Okay, so he's higher. And then here's your last guys. You don't have to answer these ones, but Silas was number 309, so that's obviously 50 picks outside of being drafted. Binda 360, Lole 412, and then Holmes, Norton, and Blackwell NAs. So of all the guys we just talked about, 3 first rounders, 1 second rounder, 3 thirds, 5 fourths, a fifth, and a seventh. That's 14 players drafted, tied for second all time with the LSU Tigers of 2020 and 2004
is that right?
Ohio State Buckeyes, and 1 behind the 2022 Georgia Bulldogs. But that number is expected to be broken by Ohio State this year.
Is that right?
Yep.
Oh, so the old record's 15.
Yeah, by Georgia.
That Ohio State's got to beat,
Ohio State's expected to break that.
or at least tie it. Huh.
Ohio State has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in the top 249. 14 in the top 249.
No.
15th is at 318. G. Scott's at 450. Yeah, so I guess technically if you're setting a number for both teams right now, it'd be right at 14, according to Matt Miller's rankings.
Well, I don't think the NFL draft boards are getting set based on Matt Miller's rankings, but
I don't either.
Matt is a hard worker for sure. We need to also mention that that we wait. No, that's not until that isn't. That's I'm thinking about something for next week about the draft and all the rest of it. Do we know what we're gonna be doing for our broadcasting for the draft?
For football with friends?
Yeah, I guess we're probably not gonna have one on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, because you fly in on Thursday, so we won't have one probably Thursday because of the draft, Friday because of the draft. But we should be normal on Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah, and then we'll
probably Wednesday.
We'll get Wednesday figured out. But just next week, just so you guys know, we're gonna be traveling for the draft, and we have our draft broadcast that we have to do. Those will be available, but they'll be on a different channel. But we'll let all you guys know about that. We got a bunch more stuff to get to, but we are just out of time. Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. You can find all of our Longhorns related content over at orangebloods.com. It's where you can find all of this great stuff. We got the transfer portal starting tomorrow, and it's going to be wild and crazy. We got spring practices going on. We got recruiting. It's never a slow time of year. So thank you guys for continuing to be part of the show. Thank you for helping it grow. Please like the show, subscribe to the channel. We would certainly appreciate that. If you have a friend that you think might like hanging out with your boys here every night from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Time, let them know about the show, man. We would certainly appreciate it. It's been through word of mouth that the show has continued to grow even here in the off season. And finally, if you're somebody new watching the show, whether it's on X, where it's most of you watching right now, or on YouTube, we can't thank you enough. And if you're watching this show tomorrow, which again, 99% of you, thank you. and we appreciate it. We can't tell you how much we respect your time, and that's why we're always wanting to get in, get out, talk football, and get you as much info as we can. We got a bunch we still need to get to, but who knows what news tomorrow is going to bring. We'll be excited to bring it to you, but we can't thank you all enough for being here. We love you. God bless you. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.